Welcome to Bizarre Phenomena. If you want to continue in Hindi, please click the link above. In the heart of a forgotten mountain, where bones of ancient creatures lay scattered and broken, there lived a woman trapped by a curse as old as time itself. Her name was Ophiliya, once a princess, now an outcast, neither fully human, nor entirely serpent. For 500 years, she had wandered the world, her body cursed to reflect the torment of her soul. By day, Ophiliya was breathtaking, her beauty so powerful it left men and beasts alike speechless, their hearts ensnared by the quiet grace of her form. But as night descended, so too did her curse. She became a serpentine creature, white as death, ravenous as the hungriest beast. Every night, she lured her prey with the promise of beauty, only to devour them in the shadows, torn between her desire for life and the guilt that stained her soul. Her curse was no accident, no cruel twist of fate. Once, long ago, she had loved, a love so deep, so forbidden, it drew the wrath of gods and men. Caelan, her knight, her love, had sworn his heart to her, even as her family and the gods themselves forbade it. Their love, a flame burning too bright, was snuffed out by the cold hand of death. When Caelan was dragged to his execution, Ophiliya's world shattered. She had tried to die that day. Without him, what was life? She stood on the precipice of oblivion, ready to let go, but a servant, a faithful, grieving soul, pulled her back from the edge.
There is a way to see him again. But it is a dark path, my lady.
The servant had whispered, eyes glinting with hope. Ophiliya, broken and desperate, listened to the whispers. She sought out the dark forces that lived in the shadows of the world, ready to sacrifice anything to reunite with her love. The dark ones had laughed, a hollow, cruel sound.
There is always a price.
And the price was her humanity. For 500 years, Ophiliya was to walk the earth as a monster, feeding on life to sustain herself. Only at the end of that time, would her spirit be free, and Caelan, her beloved, would come to her. Without hesitation, she had agreed, hope burning fierce in her chest. 500 years, for a single moment to be with him again. The mountain of bones became her prison, her sanctuary, the remnants of a once thriving kingdom turned to dust by her own hand. She wandered its ruins, a silent specter among the dead. The weight of her curse bore down on her with every passing century, and yet, hope flickered like a distant star. Every sunset, she whispered his name into the wind.
Caelan.
One day, as the sun hung high in the sky and light danced across the ancient ruins, her heart began to pound, an ache both familiar and forgotten. A lone rider appeared, galloping through the crumbling stones, his form bathed in golden light, as if the sun itself had breathed life into him.
Caelan!
Her breath caught in her throat, her pulse quickened. This was the moment. 500 years had passed. But before she could reach him, the rider vanished, galloping out of sight like a dream slipping through her fingers.
No! Don't leave!
Her voice echoing through the hollow mountain. She ran, faster than she had in centuries, her mind spinning with disbelief, joy, and terror.
This is it! This is the moment! He's here!
She raced through the paths that wound down from the mountain, toward the kingdom below, where the rider had disappeared. At the gates of the kingdom, the guards stopped her, their eyes filled with suspicion. But Ophiliya could not be stopped, not now. She had waited too long, suffered too deeply. Rage flared in her chest, and before she could control it, her body began to change. Her skin rippled, her form lengthened, and where a woman once stood, a great white serpent now loomed. Her eyes, glowing with fury, locked onto the guards. They screamed, but their cries were silenced as she tore through the gates, her massive form slithering through the streets of the kingdom, unstoppable. People fled in terror as the serpent moved through the city, her heart beating with a singular thought: find him. She searched, wild and frantic, for her knight, her love.
Where are you? Caelan!
But then, the soldiers came. Arrows rained down, spears flew through the air, but Ophiliya did not stop. She would not stop. She had to find him. Desperation clawed at her chest, but before she could reach him, a spear pierced her side. A gasp escaped her lips. Pain, sharp and cold, spread through her. She looked down and saw a knight. His eyes were locked on her, filled with sorrow, confusion, and something else. Recognition.
Caelan.
The arrows, driven deep into her body, brought her to her knees. Her serpentine form began to shrink, to change, until she was once again a woman, lying helpless on the cold stone ground. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her vision blurring, but through it all, she saw him.
Caelan.
He knelt beside her, his hands trembling as he reached out to touch her face. His eyes, filled with a deep, inexplicable sorrow, locked onto hers. He had not known it, but now he remembered. Somewhere, in the depths of his soul, he remembered her.
Ophiliya, who are you?
The name feeling foreign and familiar all at once.
Caelan. I waited for so long.
500 years of loneliness, of suffering.
500 years? How could it be? I didn't know.
I never stopped loving you. I've seen you again. That's all I ever wanted.
Caelan, will you forgive me? I never stopped loving you.
Tears welled in her eyes, her voice trembling with both joy and sorrow. With one last, trembling breath, Ophilia's body dissolved into a shimmer of light, carried away on the wind like dust, like a forgotten dream. Caelan stood there long after she was gone, a deep, aching loss settling into his chest. He didn't fully understand it, but he knew, somewhere, in the vastness of time, a great love had come to an end. I've been pouring my heart and soul into this video, and your support truly means the world to me. I know it's not perfect yet, but every like and subscription brings me one step closer to making it the best it can be. Your encouragement is what keeps me going. Thank you so much for believing in me.